So, the bad news dropped. Doom Eternal is delayed until the 20th of March 2020. If you're anything like me, you've thrown down the full $60 for a pre-order, or if you're more like one of my commenters, you threw down a whopping $200 for the collector's edition. And yes, I am just a little jealous. Either way, we're all out in the cold. So with an extra 4 months to wait, you need something to do, don't you? Well, you're in luck, because I've taken the time to go through and compile my list of games to fill the gap until Doom Eternal in no particular order. Let's start with the obvious. Doom 2016. If you're looking for a close approximation of Doom Eternal with the same core concepts, most of the same weapons and even the same IP, it's not a bad choice. Personally, I'd say try and beat a difficulty 1 or 2 above your comfort zone. Personally, I'm trying to beat Nightmare mode slowly but surely. On the other hand, if you've beaten Doom 2016 as many times as you've woken up in the morning, then you might be interested in trying Doom Hellfall. Hellfall is a mod for the original Doom engine that gives a very rough port of Doom Eternal to the original Doom games. And admittedly, although it is very difficult and rather rough, it is pretty damn cool to have some of the Doom Eternal weapons, and the grappling hook, and the Praetor Blade for glory kills in the original Doom engine 5 months before Doom Eternal releases. The good thing is, it's still being worked on and will get better over time. The final Doom-based option is just the absolute ton of other awesome Doom mods. Brutal Doom, Doom 4-4 Doom, and Guncaster being great options. Personally, I've played and enjoyed all 3, and can say for certain that they're all worth a play if you have the hardware to support it, which you should have if you can run Doom 2016 on decent settings. Out of the 3, I would personally suggest Guncaster. It is the most balls to the walls experience. It's basically Doom, but cranked up to 11. On the other hand, if your hardware didn't cost as much as a small car, you might want to look at Brutal Doom, as it requires much less computing power to run and is still an absolute ton of fun. In the middle is Doom 4-4 Doom, which ports almost all of Doom 2016 into Doom 1-2, giving the most authentic experience without needing too much extra hardware compared to Brutal Doom. On the other hand, if you're looking for an experience outside of the Doom franchise, you've still got a wide and diverse set of options to fill that high-octane shooter niche that comes with a heaping helping of adrenaline, usually enough to put your heart at risk of exploding. My personal choice of non-Doom game for extremely high-octane action is Titanfall 2, featuring big-ass robots, mobility options to put Doom Eternal to shame, and a modified version of the legendary Source engine. Titanfall 2 as a game was almost perfectly set for success, but then in typical EA fashion they fucked up in so many different ways as a publisher that it barely sold, even while getting critically acclaimed and absolutely loved by the people who did buy it. If you haven't played Titanfall 2 yet, I absolutely recommend picking up a copy and giving the campaign a quick run through before having an absolute blast in the multiplayer. As an alternative to Titanfall 2, if you don't mind somewhat of a grind, a somewhat weird story, enemies that look like they just jumped out of a Lovecraftian horror flick and a third-person camera angle, Warframe might just be the game for you. Warframe features a very high mobility combat style, more focused on chaining a select few movement abilities over and over again than setting you up with all the movement abilities you could ever want. The one thing Warframe does very well is make you feel like an absolute badass, because, well, you are. You get the choice of a few different starter characters with very different ability sets, a few different starter weapons, and which missions you personally want to take on. I absolutely recommend the Warframe called Mag with the bow instead of the rifle. On the downside, it can be a bit of a grindy game when it comes to leveling up and progressing, however this is offset by the fun gameplay loop and interestingly enjoyable design of the combat mechanics. If Warframe really isn't your thing and you enjoy highly competitive, fast-paced multiplayer shooters, you might enjoy Quake Champions. Unfortunately, Quake Champions is a little bit buggy and a little bit too competitive for my taste. However, the weapons are all pretty damn solid and pretty fun to use, the characters are well designed and fun to play as, and you can even play as the Doomslayer himself, and he has some of the best abilities in the game in my opinion. Be warned though, because of its highly competitive nature, Quake Champions has a lot of very hardcore players and quite few less skilled players to annihilate. If the hardcore gorefest element of Doom is more your thing, I highly recommend killing Floor 2 as a straight up, no holds barred bloodbath. Slaughtering various almost demonic enemies with various very well animated guns ranging from semi-realistic to what the fuck feels absolutely amazing. I mean, can you think of anything beside Doom Eternal that is gorier than firing an explosively charged harpoon into an enemy and then detonating them and every other enemy around them into blood particles and giblets? Personally, when I play Killing Floor 2, I play with the Zternal mod, which trades the between-game progression for in-game progression at the cost of needing you to find Zternal-specific servers or play solo through console commands. My personal pick for a game to play while waiting for Doom Eternal is Superhot Mind Control Delete, because in my opinion it's a great time sink of a game, as well as a very well constructed game with a load of fun gimmicks to play around with. When I used to play the game a lot, I often used a character which, if I remember correctly, was called the Ninja. However, in my short play recently, they've completely overhauled the game and have a lot more in store for you, including new sort of power-ups that make the game easier as you play through the semi-roguelike level-to-level gameplay. Although I haven't played Destiny 2 yet, it has just become free to play and is therefore worth a quick mention, since it may be worth picking up if you're interested in multiplayer sci-fi looter shooters. Even though I haven't played the second one, I do plan to pick it up at some point since I found the first one fairly enjoyable. That's all from me, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. I have been your host, Vert343, signing off. Peace out, gentlemen.